I'm done. I'm not doing it no more. Some people give up after they first try. And I believe failure is important as well. And because because you learn from your mistakes. You know what I'm saying? But once you figure out that you fail and you figure out that you learn from your mistakes, that's when you start the planning. So that you won't keep bumping your head over and over and over again. Like I said, we all going to make mistakes in everything we do. But when you make a plan, you can avoid a lot of bull crap. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
That's where I'm at now in my life.
I agree. Yo, this is Rising Royalty Podcast with Paparazzi Naptown, the greatest podcast in the 317. Powered by Numbers Media. Look, we here with Roski.
Hey.
Hey.
Roski in here.
Yeah. I'm glad you came out to the podcast for real. Mm-hmm. You know, this is definitely a podcast where we get to get deep, you feel me? And we get to uplift the future generation. Mm-hmm. So without further ado, I'm going to start out with my first question. Mm-hmm. What were your hardships in early childhood?
I say getting out of my shell, like, you know, getting out of my shell, showing people who I can really be, you know, far as trying to do poetry and music and different things. It took a lot out of me to show people who I was, you know. And, you know, childhood growing up, I was raised in a hood.
So you mean already at like, you know, like 5, 6 years old, you're already writing poetry? Or like, when did that start for you?
I say it started when I was in elementary. I was in the choir. And I started doing poetry.
Hey, that's what's up. So, I mean, for those who don't really know a lot about poetry, like myself, the only poetry I know about is like haiku. So it's like, are you talking like at that level, at that age, you're just like, you know, run of the mill haikus, or like you're putting, you know, a lot of time and dedication into this art form, like, you know, different kinds of poetry, you're studying it, learning other poets and stuff at that age?
Really, back then, elementary, 5th grade, it was kind of like basic rhymes, you know, childhood rhymes, you know, ABCs, 1, 2, 3s type rhymes. But putting them together, I used to be shy. So only thing that would help me write poetry and get things out is like just saying little things I see kids doing my age. I was different. You know, I would throw little rhymes based off what we did for the day, you know, different things. So, yeah.
That's tough for real. You know, around that age, I was doing something similar. I definitely was, you feel me, getting my first bars out. I'm a little different. I ain't gonna lie. I used my first bars to pick up a shotty. You know what I'm saying? You know, it was, and it worked. You know what I'm saying? First grade, you feel me? 6 years old, definitely picked up a shotty with the raps.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you know, that's definitely good to hear, you know, to come from poetry, you know, into all of the art that you're into. I'll just jump right into my second question. So what trials and tribulations did you kind of go through by the time you were a teenager? So, you know, I'm trying to give everybody the full aspect. So you start out, you know, you're writing this poetry, you're trying to come into yourself, you're trying to learn, you know, figure out who you are. Are you still going through a little bit of that, like, is a teenager, early teenager?
I'm actually still going through tribulations right now, but my younger years was a little tough because I had to be on stage a couple of times in my younger days, you know, and I really struggled being on stage, you know, trying to show off my talent. So that is something that I was not good at. But when I first did my first stage performance, I was in the choir, so I was able to overcome my fear by doing that. Being around a lot of people helped me too because I wasn't the only one on stage, so that kind of helped me. So yeah, those are things that I had to figure out how to get through my fear of being on stage as a teenager and stuff when I was performing. So yeah.
That's real. I mean, so like, where were you performing? Are we talking about like hole in the wall, little spots or whatever? Was there like venues? How are you even coming upon these shows? Like, you have an agent?
Well, currently, if you're talking about currently right now, I just network.
Well, I'm really talking about that age group. When you're a teenager, coming into shows. My shows when I was a teenager was like talent shows.
Yeah, talent shows. The school that I was going to, elementary, the choir that I was in, they will have like different events, different places we would go that will book the school for us to perform. So that's how we got in. And then like talent shows, school talent shows, I used to get on stage and do things. I really don't know exactly how the schools got these venues because I was young. I just tagged along, you know what I'm saying? But I really didn't really get into my music and stage until I was an adult.
The biggest problems between, early childhood and teenage years was, kind of finding yourself, figuring out who you wanted to be in art. You were making art, but you didn't know what was like, what you wanted to be your thing, And then even as you were a teenager, then you're starting to realize like, wait a second, like being like having the lights on me, having the spotlight on me. I'm not sure if that's something that I even really rock with for real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So then, in all of that time, childhood to teenager, are you seeing any, like, where are you seeing the most development? Were you ever focused on anything else? Were you focused on science or health?
Yeah. To be honest, my focus has always been music behind the scenes. But besides that, I was going to school for business administration, and that was more of my focus. But when I got all the way in to be in the music game was just 2 years ago. And I'm just being honest.
Dang, that's crazy. That's crazy.
So,
for real.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm definitely, I definitely got to kind of segue into the next spot. I got to segue into the next spot. So what hard lessons did you learn in early adulthood? You know what I'm saying? Like what, whether it be, because me personally, one of the hardest lessons I had to learn is you can't take everybody with you. You just can't. You know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna be it. It just ain't gonna work like that. So what were the hard lessons you had to learn in early adulthood? For those who don't know, Rise and Royalty Podcast is powered by Numbers Media Group. If you have a podcasting idea or you just want to network, you want to lock in with us, go ahead and reach out to us using our contact information in the description below.
Move in silence. Move more in silence. I learned that because when everybody know your movements, they'll shut you down. It's always seemed like it's a race with people. So moving in silence has been something big on me because, sometimes when you tell people something too early, it either don't happen or they'll step on your toes, do it before you do it, or it's always like bad attentions to some people. So yeah. I say move in silence, move in silence until it's time to make that noise. That's big. I'm big on that now. You can't never tell everybody what you're about to do until you do it. So
it's interesting that you say that because basically, like, as I was first meeting you, you were always in this group. You were in this conglomerate. You guys were always together. Anytime I saw y'all all together, which, by the way, I think is very effectual. When it comes to promoting yourself as an artist, even promoting yourself as a group, that's very important, to be as that conglomerate. I do feel like as towards the end, when I started seeing you with those people, I would have liked to see more color color matching, you know.
Yeah.
After I saw that y'all popped out, everybody was all in white. I was like, man, if they had a been doing this, I was like, you know what I'm saying? I've tried to tell many people that, you know, like, hey, you know, if we all pop out, we got the same symbol on our chest, you know, and we all make dope music, then we're making our brand dope. It's dope to be one of us, you know what I'm saying? So, but equally, I like how, you know, that exactly what you said is something that I've seen you do in person. You know what I'm saying? You'll be basically silent and then it'll just be like, I mean, an explosion. I mean, literally, we were talking earlier, you know, before we started recording. And one of the things that I heard from you was like, oh, you know, I done tapped into some features.
Yep.
When you said that, it was crazy because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I done seen features. Like I done seen I've seen people dropping their projects. I'm like, Rose Key on the project. I see on everybody's project this year. Like for real.
I'm working with a lot of people, you know, this year. I got a nice record. I ain't gonna say his name just yet because it's a surprise, but he's a Mexican and we got a record coming out. I can't wait till we get this put out, but yeah, I got some projects I'm working on now, new videos. It's a lot of people I'm working with, you know. I'm happy to say that, you know. I got a movie coming out. I mean, I have a movie already out, and I'm also starring in a movie in April. We'll be filming. So, yep, I can't wait.
That's what's up. What movie you got out? What movie you got out?
It's called Full Custody on Tubi. I'm an attorney on there.
That's what's up.
The movie that we're filming is called The Streets of Nat. Shout out to Miss Blue and Brittany. My character is like kind of like Ratchet, little Ratchet. Her name is Mariah. Mariah, and I'm basically this chick named Nyla, friend. I ain't gonna say too much, but
we gotta tap into the premiere for real. You know, by the time this come out, I'm sure the premiere will already have happened.
Yeah,
you know, so y'all go definitely check that out. You know, show some love. You know, so you told us, you broke down a little bit, you know, we've kind of fast tracked the story a bit. Like these are the trials and tribulations you went through in childhood as a teenager. You know what I'm saying? What other things, you know, would you say, do you have any advice for we'll just backtrack a little bit. Do you have any advice for those timelines? You know what I'm saying? Like as somebody's developing their self, you know, cause all age groups could see this, you know? So as somebody's developing their self as an artist, like what stepping stones do you feel need to be knocked out early on? Like before you're an adult, if there's anything that if you would do it differently, what would it be?
if I can do anything different, I would probably take more notes and listen to the people that already made it, or people that's been there and done it. I would have probably listened more because, you know, growing up, being young, you can be hard-headed, you know, so I think I would have did that different. I probably would have took more notes and paid attention to the advice that people did give me on how to be a better person as an artist. That's so important to me because if I would have listened, I probably would have did more, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, where I come from and where I was raised, it was a little tough to be what I wanted to be. But I would tell all the young folks, like, find somebody in your life that you look up to that can show you greatness. Don't find nobody that show you the bad things, you know what I'm saying? Find people that can guide you and show you and take you to a certain direction.
Well, if you could please break it down a bit. I mean, like, where did you come from? You know, for the viewer who's, you know, trying to relate, you know, like, what was that early life like for you? Was you rich? You feel me? Was you...
I wish.
As my boy Ollie would say, was goody. I'm not sure if y'all tapped in yet, but this is a City Flooders hat. If you want your logo, your brand, you got a cup, you got a chain, you got a hat, you got a shirt, just go ahead and reach out to me in the comments below, or you can hit my inbox. Peace.
I actually grew up, you know, a lot of people don't know, I actually grew up on 42nd and Post Road on Brentwood.
What?
Yep, I grew up on Post Road. Life wasn't the best. You know, a lot of people always have, you know, different assumptions of me, but to be honest, I grew up out there, and you know, and I'm not ashamed of it. Nobody never asked me, but I grew up out there. I've been on Post Road all my life, from elementary all the way to high school. I went to IPS. You know, life was tough. You know what I'm saying? I had to figure out a lot of things. You know, I had a good mother that that raised three. It's three girls. It's three of us. And she did the best she could with us. You know what I'm saying? So, like I tell a lot of people, I didn't come from a silver spoon. I came from the bottom, you know, and that's where my name came from. You know what I'm saying? I'm Rose Key. I came from the dirt, and now I'm Blossom. You know, I'm trying to be better than what I was back then. You know what I'm saying? So, yep, I grew up out there. That's where I'm from.
Hey, man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful for real to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, a lot of people wouldn't know. I've heard, you know, there's always those people who talk about how, like, you know, your testimony, you know, a lot of times will be in life, you know, the things that you went through, the pain that you went through, the struggles that you went through, you know what I'm saying? And that's what makes the testimony. I never would have guessed it, you know what I'm saying? I never would have, you know, I would have get, you know, West Side, South Side, you know what I'm saying? I would not have guessed that you was Far East Side.
Yeah, I'm Far East Side. You know who Tez is.
Yeah. He always say that.
I grew up with him.
Actually, for real?
Yes.
With Tezard.
He'll tell you. That's my guy. Shout out to him. You know, I call him Tez because that's the name I know. Yeah. We both grew up on Post
Well, be
Road.
real, you know, like, you know, you grew up in the struggle. Was you a problem child, or was you chill? Was you feel me? You handling business, or was you ready to drop out of school? Like, you feel me? You drop what?
It's so funny because I grew up in the projects. I was around everything, but I was always that humble girl. I was always that cool chick. You know, I was quiet. But then I had friends, you know what I'm saying? I was more that laid back hood chick. Like, you know, everybody got one in the hood and, you know, laid back, but I knew everybody. You know, I'm from Post Road, you know, and I was just cool, you know. I got some stories, you know, but I ain't gonna give them all to y'all. But, you know, growing up out there was tough, you know what I'm saying? We all been through a lot, you know. I watched Ted, you know, like I said, Tez, I watched the things he been through, you know what I'm saying? He came a long way, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because I know where he come from, and he knows where I come from, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, it's some memories out there, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't trade it for the world because that's what made me who I am, you know what I'm saying? Growing up on Post Road, it made me who I am today, you know what I'm saying?
That's real, you know. I think that there's a lot of artists out there, you know, they are trying to figure out their own identities, you know, they're having their own identity crisis with, like, you know, because a lot of my generation, like, we see it. We can't act like we don't see it. We can't act like we don't know. Like, it's cool to self-destruct. That's essentially the formality of the world that we live in. It's like, it's cool to ruin your life.
Yep.
And only like 0.0001% of us will make it while trying to ruin our life. Yeah. Like, when we realize that now, we're aware of it, you know. So to hear your story and to know that, like, you know, at the end of the day, when it came to the day, you know, you had to choose who you were, choose who you were going to be. At no time were you like, well, I'm not going to understand that, and then just like be like that. Yeah, I can see it. I can see y'all doing what y'all do. I'm not going to disrespect y'all. I'm not going to, you feel me, act like I'm not a part of y'all, act like we didn't grow up from the same hood or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But I got, you know, I got in my DNA.
Well, I'm going to be real with you. You know, coming up in this music stuff, you know, I was 2 years ago, I didn't know nothing about this stuff. You know. What? I lost a lot of people, friends, and a lot of people that switched up on me when I became Rose Key. You know what I'm saying? Me being me has been tough. You know what I'm saying? Because when you...
Well, if I may, I'm sorry to interject. If I may, so 2 years ago, I told my boys, I was like, we done so much in Hamilton County. I was like, so this is what we're going to do. I was like, I know me. I was like, I'm going to go over to Indianapolis. I'm going to carve us out a piece of the pie. And then all of y'all just go do what y'all do. And just be like, I'm here because of Rise and Royalty. That's all I need y'all to do. I'm here because of Rise and Royalty. I know J. Rayo. So literally, you becoming Rose Key happened at the same time that I was like, all right, I'm gonna pop out and nap. Like, you see how that's so dope. Like you came so hard that year that I thought you was just a part in the fold. No. For real. I thought you had been in the fold. I thought you had been doing your thing. You feel me? So it's like when I be thinking to myself, I'm like, man, like, did you think that about me? Was you just thought I was already in the music industry?
Already in. I thought you was locked in, but I pay attention to you. You know what I'm saying too. I see how you move. I see how you network. I see how you talk to people. And I don't know if this is off topic, but I wanted to say one thing. You want me to tell you how I really got in the game though? 2 years ago.
Talk to me.
Tony Cleveland.
What?
Shout out to Tony Cleveland, man.
That is crazy.
He gave me my first part in the record. It's funny how it happened. We did that first record, and when we did it, man, it was like I didn't know that people would like it, and we ended up working with Ladina and did like a recording, like a band, and Tony Cleveland, I really respect him as a person because he put me on the hook. And when he put me on that hook, everybody's like, "Who was Shorty? Who was her?"
So now you gotta be someone.
Yeah, and I just did a hook, a little hook, nice little hook. I ain't gonna say little because at the time, like, you know, before that situation with his mom and stuff passing and stuff, Tony, he was doing his thing. He's still doing his thing, but you know,
for real.
When he got me on that record, it opened up doors for me, and I want to give a shout out to him and thank him so much because if it wasn't for him just showing me off a little bit, I probably didn't even know what I'd be doing 2 years. That's
real talk. Well, you know, I have to jump a little, you know, because it's like big shout outs to Tony Cleveland, man, for bringing a beautiful origin story here for us to preview equally. When it comes down to it, you know, what do you feel like a creator needs to focus on now? You know, me personally, I'm real big on this, and people be saying I'm like money hungry or something because of this. I personally think if you were like older than 23, your only focus should be monetizing yourself, because the reality is you don't have time.
Exactly.
You can't be investing 100 hours a week in music at 23. You need to be focused on income. You need to be building a life. But what do you think is most important for an artist just starting out, you know, as an adult? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I would say just focus on content. You know, just every day when you waking up, just always have a plan. Like, have a plan, you know, because if you just go and not have a plan, you gonna bump your head more than normal. You gonna bump your head no matter what. It's just part of life. But I say have a plan, you know, because with a plan it can work out better for you. You know what I'm saying? Like every day, like for me, I got a book. I write out everything I need to do, and I try to follow it, you know, because if I don't, I'll be all over the place. And, you know, at my age, like you said, we don't got no time to waste. So anybody coming with some bullshit, I'm walking away. You know what I'm saying?
That's
because
a bug.
I don't have no time to waste, you know. And some people get in the game early, some people get in the game late. Some people make it, some people don't. And in my situation, I feel like I got a long way to go, but I feel like I'm making enough noise to get myself in position. So I say, plan. You know, have a plan, man. It's important to have a plan. You know,
I agree. I agree. You know, I've told many artists this. It's crazy. Excuse me. It's crazy because if you had one goal and your only goal was, I want to accumulate 15,000 fans, you would win. Yeah. If your only goal was to accumulate 15,000 fans. This is written in a book, How to Make It in the Industry.
Yeah.
If your only goal was to make 15,000 fans, then you would win. Because even if you sell a product for $1 and you have 15,000 fans, you will always eat.
Yes.
That's money. That's enough money. I mean, let's just say after, you pay off everything, you know what I'm saying? Even if you only make $5,000 from that.
Yeah.
If you did that every month, your bills are paid.
Yeah.
After you have 15,000 fans, if you sell a product for $1, you win in life. You know what I'm saying? So it's like definitely having a plan changes the game. If you don't have a plan, then you lose everything. Dr. Star, she has her own TV show, Golden Nuggets. She told me once, if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. And I think that that's very important because that's real life.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if
you
don't have a plan, you do plan to fail. You don't plan to make it. The only thing that you don't have anything on the schedule. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes you got to go through failure. Failure is important too in life. You know, a lot of people think, oh, I failed, I'm done, I'm not doing it no more. Some people give up after they first try. And I believe failure is important as well. And because you learn from your mistakes. You know what I'm saying? But once you figure out that you fail and you figure out that you learn from your mistakes, that's when you start to plan it. So that you won't keep bumping your head over and over and over again. Like I said, we all going to make mistakes in everything we do. But when you make a plan, you can avoid a lot of bull crap. You know what I'm saying? So
I agree.
That's where I'm at now in my life.
I agree. I agree. You know, with a plan, you win. Without a plan, it's literally up to chance. And I try and tell people that, they'll be like, oh, I can make music and I can win. It's like, bro, like me, I'm a man of averages. If I stack all of the odds in my favor, that's way different than not stacking anything in my favor and hoping for the best.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's also a million other artists who are stacking the odds in their favor, who are making the decisions and making the moves that are going to help them succeed. And I think that's very important. Me, I'm one of those. Like, I like to apply pressure.
You're one of my favorite people. Like, no cap. I see you, man. Like, you're one of my favorite people. I really appreciate you having me here. It means a lot. You know what I'm saying? So,
hey,
definitely.
I'm glad I could have you for real.
I can see you got a plan.
I really do. Every single year, by the end of the year, I come up with a new plan for the next year, some things I want to do. Last year it was modeling. I did a lot of modeling at the beginning of the year last year. Yeah. So it's like, the year before that, it was just music. It was Rising Royalty. I was pushing my team. And I was like, okay, we're going to move into this Indianapolis market because now we have a market. There's a market out here big enough that we should be in there. You know what I'm saying? We should be all around that. So, this year is podcasting, and it's movies.
I see you. It's like we growing together. I see you.
Yeah, facts. We definitely are. Well, I thank you for coming out here. I really do appreciate you and all of the work that you put in for artists. If there's any last piece of advice that you could give for future creators, what would it be?
Stay focused. Put God first. God first. I can't stress that because without God, ain't no directions.
Hallelujah.
So I say put God first, stay focused, and don't ever allow nobody to tell you can't do it.
Elohim.
If it don't serve you, walk away. It's that simple.
Adonai.
Have a plan.
That's beautiful.
Right.
For real. I'm trying to tell you.
Have a plan.
Like people need to understand, like it's like if you don't believe in anything, then you'll fall for everything.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like we all came from somewhere, and I think that that's super important to know that you put God first makes sense to why you have achieved so much. You know, for real, because it's like, my generation, they don't want to believe in nothing, and that's because everything has deceived them. But that's the enemy. The enemy has consistently deceived them.
Yep, you're absolutely right. I see it all the time.
Amen.
Yep, but like I said, stay focused. Put God first. That's important. I can't stress it. And I really appreciate you too for having me here.
Hey, I'm glad I could be here for real. One more big up for Rose Key. You know what I'm saying?
You got to find me on all platforms. Rose Key.